everybody, this is Janine here again, and I want to talk about something pretty big to me, and it is the whole dating scene when you're 30 plus and what it's like, what's the point, if there's hope. If you get to 30 and you are single, there could be many reasons. You could be divorced, or you just spent your life on your school and career, and you just were waiting and doing the steps in order, the way that you felt like they should be, and maybe got a little sidetracked even once you finished school and got into the career. It gets very hard to juggle in something new once you have your routine down. It's very hard to jam something else in. Okay, so and some considerations that women start to have when they find themselves single and getting older, and they start critiquing themselves on why that might be. Like, why am I single? Everyone else is, married or in relationships, and, why am I single and I'm in my 30s, and, So, one big one, and I did this one myself, I considered this, is dating older men, and, or whatever, I guess is your preference, but dating older, and how old is too old, for you. And I believe I've said this before, but my mother told me that, and it made sense to me when she said it, was how old is too old for you is when you feel like that person is from another generation. Like, they don't seem like they're even from your generation. Like, they seem like they probably maybe could have even possibly hung out with your parents. You could kind of see them in school with them, as opposed to even just being, like, if a person is like 10 years older than you, then you're not going to feel like they're like a part of your parents' generation. You may feel like they might be a part of your older siblings' generation, but not your parents. So 10 years is still, it's pretty good. I always say, like say if you're, like, a friend of mine asked me how old I thought was too old for her. And she was 37. So I told her probably 47. And the only reason I said that was because anything over that is coming into 50. And once it turns to 50, it's going to feel like another generation. It's going to feel like that. It's likely. So, I said 47 would probably be, as far as she'd want to go. And so figuring out how old is too old for you, I guess, kind of would depend personally on your expectations. Like, some women or females that they like the idea of a father figure, someone who kind of acts a little more like a dad, and so if that's the case, then, you can go pretty high in the age difference thing. But if it's for, of normal life purposes, you would just want to stay inside of your own generation. You don't want to step into dealing with people who you could imagine them hanging out with your parents, pretty much. Think of it like that. Another thing is, once you get to a certain age, probably not in your 30s, maybe your 40s, you might start to actually consider if giving up is an actual option. Like, if you could just accept being single and just be single, and just not worry about dating anymore, and just expect to get like old by yourself. I guess, like, hang out with your spinster friends or whatever. So, and which it is. It's always going to be an option. Everything is an option. There's just choices. For the most part, when you're not looking is usually when something comes to you. When you're not looking for it, that's because you're not thinking about it, obsessing about things. Sometimes you can actually push them away or not notice what's going on around you because you're too busy thinking in tunnel vision on something else, you know. And so that's another one. And listening to other people's advice about what it is that you need is the worst thing ever. And everybody has experienced this. Like a single person, you're single, and you know, when it's party time, you're hanging out with your friends, you don't care. Like, you do not care that you're single. It's something that does not bother you when you're hanging out with friends and just having fun. But say like springtime comes, or even like just when people start coming out and going to the parks and putting out their blankets and laying out together and stuff. And single people, being a single person, you see this and you just start to mind F yourself into thinking that that's something that you need. But the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of unpleasant blanket in the, you know, park, picnic, you know, and cuddling. There's a whole lot of negative stuff that goes along with those things. And you don't know what's going on in someone else's relationship. So when you see someone looking all happy, do not envy a situation that you know nothing really about. When people are in public, they behave a certain way. They're not going to show you that their relationship is rocky or that they're always fussing and cussing at each other. They're not going to show you that. So if you could see that, you would not necessarily feel that way when you saw them. You wouldn't feel like, oh, I wish I had, you know, you wouldn't. But just know, let me promise you, that is what's happening at their house. There's all kinds of, this is people. But people don't understand, you're going to argue. If you're going to live with someone, or even just be around them that much, you're going to argue. It's just human nature. You live at home with your parents when you're a kid. You live at home with your parents and your siblings. You argue with your parents and your siblings. You live with, you moving with your best friend. You're going to argue with your best friend. Anybody you live with, you're going to have conflict with. It's a rule of life. You can't live with someone and not have conflict. So if you have an expectation of finding someone and everything being perfect and you know, and all that, then you might as well just do rule number 3, which is just give up altogether. Because there is no such thing. This is life. You know, we're going to have conflict. It's all about conflict resolution. You know, so like, people have these expectations. I got this, oh, everything's so great, he's so wonderful, and then the slightest little thing happens, and they're out of there. And it's like, if you think that you're going to find someone who's not going to do anything wrong, expect to be alone most of your life, because no relationship is going to last. Everyone messes up. You mess up, we mess up, you know, we all, everyone, you know, messes up. No one's perfect. No one is ever going to be perfect. You're never going to meet someone who's perfect. And guys who make comments about how girls always like guys who are barely call and are disrespectful, but they don't like the guy who's, you know, always there and so nice, that guy messes up too. That guy, he messes up too. In fact, it looks worse when he does it, because he's not expected to mess up. But he is going to, because he's a man. He's a human. And as a woman, I have to say this. Women are so funny. We're so finicky about what guys are doing. And they're always doing this and they're always doing that. And he's so bad. But the difference between men and women is that men always get caught. They always get caught. They always get caught. Because we're nosy as hell. We're always paying attention. You know, and so we notice everything. And then, and so that's what it is. But we are no better. You know, we're always, you know, messing up. Like everyone does. So your expectations of perfection, just let it go. What you want to find is someone who you could possibly consider, not, they don't have to be your best friend, but you could consider, you could look at them and they could be your best friend one day. You can see, you talk to them like you do your best friend. You see them the same way that you see your best friend. You know, they're like necessity. You know, that is what you want. When you get a call about a trip, you want a free trip, this is the first person you think of. You know, like, this is, that's like a road dog. Is someone who's just, you know, with you even when they're not with you. That's how you know. When people say, how do you know when you're in love? It's not about that. Whenever you say you're in love, you can call it that. But people behave a certain way when they value someone. So how do you know when you value someone enough to make them a priority? That is what you should be asking, instead of how you know when you're in love. It's just a word. People started, you know, playing wordplay with that word a long time ago. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. It's all just a game. But when you start behaving like you're someone's priority because they're treating you that way, then the system is working. And when you start making someone a priority and they're just like deciding whether to deal with you day to day, then that's a problem. So just, you know, everyone knows when they're in a good situation and when they're not in a good situation. And if it's not that great, like, some people have a hard time getting out. Like, they just constantly always just feel like they just want to have someone. They don't really care who it is. Like, they just don't want to be by themselves. They don't want to be alone. They just, you know, they just want to have someone. So they'll just put up with something for so long that it just becomes habit. So they start thinking that they need it, you know, but at some point you start looking to replace it. And that's when you know that you're about out. You're like, you know, about out of there. Then you'll probably be out of that situation soon, is once you start thinking of things to replace it, which is another bad idea. It's a short-term, you know, fix. It's a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, you know, but it's a quick fix. It works sometimes, but it just ends up causing a brand new problem. You know, like, now you got somebody else to get rid of, you know, replacing someone. That's how you get over them. It's a good quick fix, but it's just a quick fix. Just a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You're still going to die. So, but doing all of this stuff and knowing all of this stuff over 30 is like, feels like rocket science. It's annoying. It's frustrating. It can be fun if you make it that way. But once you've dated, if you've made it to 30 plus and you're still single, then the reason why is, I mean, like, you've probably done your fair share of dating. So you begin to kind of feel like that you know everything. And you've seen every, you know, you've heard every pickup line. You've seen every type of reaction. You know the way people look at you. You know all these things. So nothing is really fun. Like, dating loses its, you know, like, it's lux. It loses, you know, it's just not as exciting. It's just kind of boring and annoying even, because everything sounds like a line, and you don't, you know, it's like, you just don't even want to bother. You know, you get to the point where you don't even want to bother anymore. So it can be rocket science, but that is dating over 30. You know, if it will happen eventually. Once you know, like, if you have kids, like, you know, once the kids get, like, older and are, like, trying to leave the nest, you know, you start just becoming a whole lot more active socially, and you don't really think about it as much. So things start happening, because things happen when you're not really paying attention, you know, to it. So if you're over 30 and still dating, it's okay. There's hope. And if there isn't, there's still fun. And life is life, and don't envy other people, especially people that you don't really know what's going on behind their closed door. You know, enjoy your life, appreciate it, and rinse and repeat tomorrow. Subscribe and like. Peace.